Hello everyone, welcome to edX Pixel Expo 8 monthly webinar global webcast September series. And as you know that this event happened every 8th of the month. And I would like to say thank you for joining us this afternoon as we get together over a united cause that is, of course, our love for diving and also the oceans. I do hope you sincerely enjoyed the earlier session with Sam Craven on Greenfin's Diver E-Course. And we do apologize just now for the slight technical glitch just moments ago, but we're all set and ready to go now with our speaker of the hour. And he does not need any introduction, to be honest, but due respect, I would love to introduce Alexey Molkenov to the edX Pixel Expo session. So today, this session will talk about the journey to world records in free diving. And to those who would like to know Alexey a little bit more, he is of course the co-founder of Molchanov, an international brand leading and the world of free diving in education, training and programs, and also premium free diving gear production. Alexey is also the president of the Russian Free Diving Federation, a free diving world champion, and he also holds multiple national and also world records. Along with his mother, Natalia Molchanova, the world's most titled free diver, they both founded Molchanovs back in 2010. So their focus was on developing high quality equipment and also education system with the aim of taking students from a beginning level to, of course, an elite free diver level. So Alexey's current record stands at 131 meter in constant weight, 126 meter in free immersion, 118 meter in constant weight bifins, and 96 meter in constant weight no fins, and 258 meter in dynamic with monofin, and also 195 meters in dynamic no fin. I'm sure there's more to that, but I'll let the man explain himself and his journey. So Alexey, over to you.
Thank you, Nora. Thank you very much. Okay, hello everyone, and let me first check that my screen is, if all is good, let's. I would like to start from my very early years. How did I start diving? And then I will share with you the videos from the latest world records in Bahamas, and I will talk through the videos so you can hear and see some of the like details that were not really like easy to watch in the video. So the last records that Nora mentioned, the ones that I did in Bahamas was 131, 126 with free immersion, and 118 in bifins. So first, let me start. I will share with you their first 118. This is their. Okay, hope it works well with the video, and that's like one of the shallower world records I did in the past competitions. And it was in July. The bifin discipline in general is one of the newer disciplines that were presented recently, and just a couple of years. And like for a long time, they're like since 2004, since I started freediving, it was 2004. There was like mostly monofin present in the freediving competitions, and before that, before even I started, there were bifins in the sport, and like most of the world records were done in the bifins, and we actually this discipline, Molchanov's news section in the blog, and that was very like cool for me to be back like to this discipline that I missed because when I started, yeah, it was already like 100 meters plus with monofins only. And before I started, like Herbert Nietzsche, Martin Stepanek were doing world records with the bifins, and there were the records like in the range of 90s. Yeah. And this discipline, I think, was in general like one, like I think it's also one of my favorite right now. Like before it was monofin, and I'll just like reduce the sound slightly. But in general, this discipline allows for like technique not to be dependent on their like body movement, on the spine flexibility. Like with monofin, there are more restrictions to the technique, which we'll see later. I will be talking through the technique with monofin, but with the bifins, their like overall like ability to like start diving, learn how to start to dive like deeper or further is like it's more like reachable for freedivers, because here it's more about legs, about leg technique, and like it's in some ways it's simpler and more accessible. So for these phases that I'm going through, like here, there are different phases where I was feeling more actively in the first part. Then now there is a phase of free fall after 30-40 meters. And in this phase, like the main thing, like I'll be talking about what freediving really like challenges and what it had developed like with me over the years. And in the first place, it's being really focused on their ability to stay calm during this free fall. That's, I think, the main like benefit of freediving. For me, it's training of this calmness, training of ability to stay like focused on their most important tasks at this moment. For me, at this moment, it is equalization, and it being able to equalize like frequently and without risks of stopped equalization. And for this depth, I felt quite confident because I have ability to dive like deeper. So here, the mental pressure of equalization is less. It's much more on the monofin dive. But here, like my main concern was technique, because I didn't dive that many days before the competition. And like I was focusing more like no fins training and monofin training, free immersion as well. With free immersion, my technique was like, fine-tuned more. But with the bifins, the thing is that is really important is automatization of the kicking. So here, with the bifins, that I did the record, so I was able to manage hypoxia, but I lost the control of the technique in a way like of the bending the knees. So we will see it a bit later. Yeah, actually, and I think I was a bit narked with my positioning next to the line and like getting out of the like away from the rope slightly. And yeah, so basically it almost feels like my right leg start to like work like improperly, and that was like one of the downsides of my less automatic technique. Yeah, but in general, the general like freedivers like focus for these deep dives is to learn how to be very economical, like with the technique, to spend less oxygen. And for this, the movements, their control of the technique should be very precise, and their actual kicking should not take much energy, like mental energy. So even though I lost some focus on the technique, the fact that I wasn't really like thinking about it too much, or wasn't trying to keep it perfect, in some ways helped me to preserve the oxygen, because I wasn't not spending much oxygen on it. So that's the first one, and the dive was super long, 4.5 minutes, and because of the general focus on being economical and like don't even with them like not perfect technique, don't be bothered by that. I think that helped me to do the record this time. And of course, next time I will be trying to improve it. I'll be trying to like do the technique, make it even better. Yeah, but no, it's not always perfect. It's not always perfect. Okay, so let me stop it for a sec and just give a short like intro, like to actually time before this competition, and then we'll continue with the next discipline. So with this competition, it is one of the best conditions, like vertical blue, the location I showed to you now. It's very still. There is no waves, there is no current, and in my career, there were dives in many places with the current, with the like rough conditions. And I think for me, it helped a lot to be able to dive in very different conditions. So here it's perfect, but diving under ice, diving under like big waves and with a stronger current is something that every freediver should also be need to be able to cope and to do the dives in those conditions. And I had quite some experience in that, and with icy dives and with some Guinness record under the ice, and with some days when the current was strong. And that helps to, in the ideal conditions, it helps to stay focused, it helps to do the record with a much more precision. So in general, I think the takeaway I got for years of freediving in different conditions is it's good to dive in different conditions. It's good to dive in rough conditions, because then and learn how to manage those conditions, because then in the good conditions it works really well. So let's go to the deeper one, the next one, and that's free immersion. And that was on the first day of the vertical competition. And for free immersion, it is very interesting actually how I was getting into the discipline. So originally my most favorite one was monofin, and then bifins as well, but monofin was also the most favorite. Free immersion was never my focus in general, and the world record before was with William Trubridge, and it was 124 meters. And I was a couple of years ago, when I was at the vertical blue as well, I was done with other disciplines in terms of I couldn't do anything more than I did with no fins, with monofin, and then I still had more days to compete in vertical blue. So I think the fact that I got to my limit at those comps in other disciplines, it allowed me to really take time and focus on this discipline, which is really enjoyable in a lot of ways. It is the discipline which doesn't require learning of swimming skills, and it's considered as some historical discipline, because with this one we can do the same pearl divers or sponge divers did in the old days, and even they a lot of the divers would still use a rope to go down and up to help to collect some valuable things from the bottom of the sea, and that's why it stays. And from the effort perspective, it's one of the lowest. It's really easy to pull the rope, but it's one of the slow as well, so it takes time to do it, but with good speed, not that much more time. But in general it's a slow discipline. And with this extra days, a couple of years ago, surprisingly I was able to reach 125, and in this competition a couple of years later I improved it to 126. Yeah, so this discipline is something I actually practiced probably just only for the last 3-4 years, and before I was not focusing on it. But in general, the amount of effort to get down is the lowest, and I think in this moment on the free fall, in some of the other disciplines with a higher effort, it could be some tiredness already, it could be some desire to breathe, even though at this depth it's very, very different than desire to breathe at the surface with the breath hold. So here, because of compression, it's less intense, and it's a bit of narcosis helps to be not so focused on the desire to breathe, right? So here, actually, at this depth, I feel completely fine. There's no hypoxia because it's actually a lot of oxygen still remaining in the blood. And the main thing here is narcosis. Narcosis kicks in for me after 100 meters. And the important thing, narcosis-wise for me, is to stay very calm, very smooth with my technique. And here you can see, like, I try to pull in a smooth way, not really like trying to be super fast, not trying to be like pulling with a lot of force. So I'll try to actually pull with less force and with more relaxation. Well, in general, freediving is all about relaxation. It's less for me about like focus on the technique like only, but it's more about focusing on their very stable, very meditative state of mind, and also allowing the body to move, but also without overspending the energy. And one of the important things here is that why I'm able to stay like calm for this deep dive is because I know my skills. I know how I built to the skills from the early years for many, many years, and that I have also the foundation in terms of being a swimmer. And I have a foundation having like good recovery speed between the dives, between the trainings, and like this trust to own's body like is very, very important. So like with training, with perfecting the skills, freedivers learn to trust their bodies and to trust their mind. So like for me, I think this is the first part, like to be able to really like to live through many, many dives, and through this constant improvement of the dives from 1 meter by 1 meter by 1 meter, I just learned to trust my abilities more and more, right? So pretty much it was with this dive, like at this depth, it is an improvement of 1 meter sometimes per year, sometimes per several months. Sometimes it's like this one was like 1 meter improvement over the 3-year period. The last time I did this event was 2018. Yeah, so here, yeah, it is really peaceful dive, and you could see probably like the way I was diving, their movement, and freediving is about that in general. For me, it's about so let me stop this as well for a sec to finish my thought on this one. So freediving is in general, it's about maintaining the peaceful mind state and being able to enjoy the dives. Like here, I myself could see that like the main thing for me here was joy, was really enjoy the dive, and I think that's one of the reasons why I'm able to do the records. And I'm not pushing for the records for the fact that like I got to do the like number, I got to do the record. I'm very keen to get the record, and I'm doing this because of curiosity, because I know I can and I have the skills and foundation to do them. But at the same time, it's not like an obsession to do the record because I want the number, because I want the title. It is also like enjoying the dive very much in the first place. And if I wouldn't be able to do this, I think I wouldn't be able to stay for so long in the sport for so many years, because like in the beginning, remembering my start and my like way to this record now, which I can do with more consistency, with more precision, and with their like higher rate of successful dives. Of course, sometimes there are unsuccessful dives, always, but in general, we in life and in sport, like it's learning through mistakes is very important. And sometimes when you see freedivers having unsuccessful dives with some potential problems, the competition is the place like to do the mistakes. And like there we have super experienced medic team, safety team, and it's very, very safe sport in general. If you look at the like organization and safety in freediving sport. So like, for me, this is the space I can test my limits. But going back in the days when I was starting and I wasn't really so aware of the pleasure of the diving, like I was then when I was young, when I was 17 years old and I started freediving, like competing in freediving, I would push more towards the record and I would be like more focused on the result instead of the process. And then when I would be thinking about the record and my mind would be occupied with a number, and like the first time I wanted to do 90 meters at depth, I would be like, I'll be thinking about the number in the first place and not about peaceful mind state, not about very like smooth and low energy technique. And then it resulted like for me in several times in a very like unpleasant blackouts during the competition where I had to learn that like I can push through and get the records with like pure power, like a pure will. That's something that is very interesting about freediving. I think that kept me in the sport for many years, that like mental component and need to be really focused in the present, to be really focused in the moment. And getting like older. So I started when I was 17 and now I'm 34. Only helped in this matter. So with age, I become calmer, and in general, like it's easier to control emotions. It's easier to control self like desires to win and to focus on the more important things than only on winning. So through this, so through my development as a freediver, this was one of them, the interesting things I observed. Okay, let's now do the deepest one, 131. And that's one of my always favorite disciplines, monofin. And I think it's favorite to me because I was a swimmer since a very young age, since I was 3 years old. And I was fin swimmer as well. So I was doing speed swimming with monofin in the like some later years in my career. And for me, monofin is one of the like best ways to move underwater. It's one of the most efficient ways to move underwater. It's a big surface, it's the whole body movement, and a lot of powerful muscles are engaged in the movement. And the speed, the ratio between efforts and the speed underwater for me is like still something I enjoy so much. Like this discipline allows to sort of almost fly through the water without effort. So the good comparison would be like bicycle on the land, like the way how like bicycle allows us to like to move on land. Monofin allows us to move underwater with like being like with low effort, almost effortless, being effortless. And here in this dive, the depth is the biggest among other disciplines, and the focus on equalization is the greatest. So here I need to be very, very careful. Like now I was charging my mouth feel relatively deep, like in the range of 30s, to be able to maintain the air in my neck, in my cheeks, like all the way to the bottom. And I equalize with the pulsing movement. In general, in freediving, there are sometimes techniques, there are variation techniques for athletes to choose between. There is a constant pressure equalization, there is a pulsing equalization, and here I'm equalizing with like small pauses and small relaxation phases. So I would equalize and then like I'll wait for a second, then I equalize again and wait for a second. And the technique I would use for equalization like calls mouth feel, and that's something that allows currently freedivers to dive really deep, really like from the 30s all the way to the 100-meter plus, it's usually like one big mouthfeel that allows freedivers to reach this depth. And on this dive, actually, I did like some small errors on the equalization, which almost like left me without air at the end of the dive. So 130 meters. This time it was my limit completely. Like I couldn't dive any deeper at this dive. And for the next one, I'll need to actually manage better my air for the equalization. But here, 120, you see, I'm I'm trying to maintain the air. I had a couple of moments in my mouth, but it worked. It worked well. And the nice thing with monofin is that in general, you never worry about efforts and energy. Like I never worried about the efforts because I just know it's so efficient. The monofin here was very, very soft. It was like testing like for me the diving is always testing in general. So I'm always like in the process of improving some technical characteristics of the gear, and here I was using very, very soft carbon prototype, and I think it led to the like relatively long dive time, but that's the personal preference we see in the sport. Like sometimes freediver would dive with like more speed, more focus on the time, trying to reduce the time. I think for me, the time is fine because I can do like long breath holds, and I can afford to be more relaxed and a bit more slow. Yeah, but in the future, in the next competition, of course, you will be able to see me like with like I will work to become faster, but maintaining the same relaxation. And last video, I spoke about my own abilities and trusting my own skills, but at the same time, I think the big, very big dependence on their also in trusting the safety of the competition is like very, very important side of this, like side of the sport. So I'm not only dependent on my own abilities, I'm dependent on the team around me, right? So the safety divers, you saw them meeting me every dive. So I'm entrusting the safety divers my life, and I want to know that they're doing really, really good job. And that's the second component to the success, right? So I think we will be able to see more and more records in freediving world because the teams, not only because athletes become more experienced, but also because organization of the competition, so let's pause it, is becoming better and better. And I think that's and here with a better organization of the competitions, as an athlete, my assurance that my life is safe is getting like better and better when I know that new protocols are implemented. And there's two components for me that I'm very mindful about, like really being first, it's really being able to like trust my skills, trust my abilities. And second is being able to trust everything what's going on around me. Like I trust the teams, and that's a lot of teams involved in the competition. They might be not that visible from the videos or in general, like not a lot of the time we know about these teams or think about these teams. But for me as an athlete, that's a way to be in peace when I freedive. I know I'm safe because I have safety divers in the first place. Then there are organizers who are watching cameras, who are also organizing, like seeing if they need to like launch a control weight system, or they need to tell medics to get ready. So there's an organization team, there is a judge team, there is a medics team. So like collaboration of those four teams is very critical. And when I know that those teams are doing a great job and they're like very, very good in providing safety, I can do the record, right? So that's doesn't really work. If I would be like alone without any safety in the sea, then I wouldn't be able to relax. I would be able to like really entrust my life to some other like people's hands in case something goes wrong during the dive. So that's one of the big, very big, unseen, not very frequently thought about or seen things in the sport. Okay, so that was my last 3 records, and hopefully I will be like, and I'll be getting ready for the next ones as well. For my like this year, there will be World Championships left in September and October. If you're interested, like just keep watching live streams from end of September Cyprus World Championship and the beginning of October Kash Turkey World Championship. But the main thing in the World Championship, of course, is usually getting the gold medal. Winning the championship is not so much about doing the world records, and that'll be the focus of those events. And yeah, hope their like the notes, their observations for me were useful. If you will be able to implement them in freediving, like really working on efficiency, really working on calmness through their dives, let me know if you have anything useful outcome or something you see through your freediving that helps, like maybe switch into the more economical type of like techniques and really focusing first again, one of the main thing for me, like main techniques is to be in peace with myself and to be enjoying the dives and not to be pressing the records. And I think that's the main focus in general, which allowed me to really progress. And if some of these advices will help you in the dive, let me know, text me somewhere in Instagram or somewhere. I'll be very happy to hear that my presentation helped in some ways. Okay, I'm finished with my presentation. Thank you, Nora.
Thank you so much, Alexey. I don't know about you. I don't know about the audiences, but I'm sure your presentation is very helpful. It's because me seeing it is already therapeutic already. So it looks very helpful. So thank you so much for, like sharing with the edX community on tips and tricks on how is it to be a better free diver. And from my end, I would like to wish you all the best for your upcoming championship. And we here in the edX camp for sure think that you will, like ace it through like as what you normally do, of course. So for everyone who is listening, to this session, please do also stay tuned to the next session, which is happening shortly for Pixel 101, conversation with the Masters of Underwater Photography, focusing on compact camera with Adam Hanlon and also Tim Ho. So this happens at 2:30 p.m. in like 15 minutes time. And also lastly, Alexey, thank you once again for your time. And I wish you all the best with your next trip. And please do enjoy and do share with us exciting stories that you have, with and your adventures for the next coming month. And everyone, I guess it's goodbye from Alexey to everyone. Alexey, you want to say bye to all?
Bye-bye. Yeah. Everyone have a great day or evening, whatever time zone you're in, and keep practicing freediving. Do it regularly. That's the most important thing, like regularity.
Thank you.